I'm pretty excited about this tournament report because it's going to be about my second place finish at a cities tournament this season. This weekend I went to two tournaments. I didn't do very well at the one yesterday, but on Saturday I was able to get second place in Hillsborough, North Carolina, running a different type of deck than I had been running in the earlier cities tournaments. I had previously, if you watch my other tournament reports, been running Magna Eel, which is just a combination of Magnezone, Electric, Thunderous, Zekrom, and a little Cryonicle tech for the Dawn fans as pretty much just a fighting counter. And I did really well with it. I really like the deck. I like the different possibilities and different ways to attack, the draw power. There's just lots of different options in the deck, and I really like options in a deck. So since I had done well with that deck, what I like to do when in tournaments is, if like I'm in midway during Battle Roads and I've won one, then I kind of like to switch to something else. Especially if there's something in the format that I haven't tried yet and I'd like to try, something like that. I feel like with a win, I'm not really going for any huge championship points. I'm not in that running, for Worlds invites or anything. I'm just kind of going for improvement, and I think just trying a lot of decks and getting better with a lot of different decks is a good way to improve yourself as a player. So I chose to change it up from Magna Eel and go with a Chandelure Vileplume deck. And when this card first came out in Noble Victories, I absolutely loved it. I love the idea of the ability being able to, it does have a heavy retreat cost, but I love the idea of being able to switch and use multiple abilities to place damage, and that's not even your attack. So if you do have energy attached, you can still attack. So you can be doing quite a bit of damage per turn, and you could be spreading quite a bit of damage because the ability Cur Shadow lets you put 3 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. So it makes it a little bit of a difficult deck because you really have to be careful where you place each individual counter, because this is what I call a thinking deck. It really takes a lot of patience. This is a lot of Vileplume decks. You're going to be behind on prizes. You're going to, in most Vileplume decks, you're going to be behind on prizes, and that's one thing that I've found, even for myself as a player, was hard to get used to, is seeing being down by 3 or 4 prizes and knowing that you could still come back and win it. So this is a deck that it just requires So yeah, this is just a deck that requires a little bit of patience and a little bit of thought to make sure that you're not misplaying, because it is very easy to misplay with this deck and lose the game. So I'll go ahead and start going through my actual deck list, and then I'll go through some of my matches. I have one Cluffa, and I pretty much have one Cluffa in every deck. It's a great stall tactic, as well as just refreshing your hand if it's just really, really horrible. I also have one Pichu in the deck, and this is a card that I've actually never run before, but I found that in Vileplume based decks, it's great for getting out a double Oddish, just in case one is captured and killed early on in the game. That way you still have that second Oddish to be able to get a Vileplume up right after they knock out your first. It does help your opponent set up as well, because they can fill up their bench with Playground as well as you. However, with Vileplume variants, you really don't mind if they take the first prize, as long as it's just not a critical prize and something that you only have one of. So with Pichu, if I was able to get it, I was typically putting at least a couple Oddish on my bench, maybe at least 1 to 2 Litwick, and possibly a Doduo, just depending on what was in my deck and what I had seen being prized. So Pichu is also a great stall tactic at any point during the game. Just to use it Playground, even if you don't have room on the bench, just for nothing, and just hope you stay asleep, because with Vileplume up, unless they're running something that snipes, they're not going to be able to hit you for the turn, and it's just a great way to give you another turn. So, I run 3 of the promo Litwick and only 1 of the set liquid, the Teleportation Burst. I would love to run 4 of the Call Litwick, and I actually put out a video several weeks ago asking for trades for these Litwick. However, most people tried to really rip me off on these things, asking anywhere from, $30 worth of stuff for a couple of these, to full art Reshurums, just an insane amount of stuff. Pokebattle 97 really came through for me, and we made what I think was a pretty fair trade for 2 of the promo Litwick. 1 is actually from my collection, and I hate having to play with cards from my collection, but I figure, what's the point in having a collection of everything if you can't use it every now and then? So that's why I have 3 of them. I considered going and seeing if I could track down a 4th just to buy, but 3 out of 4 really isn't that inconsistent, and Teleportation Burst is by no means bad. It does do damage, and you can switch. Call for Family is always better, but yeah, having 1 is really not that big a deal. So I run 4 of the Lampent, and that's because of this first attack, Luring Light. You get to switch the defending Pokemon with one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. This is a great stall tactic. If you see that, if you have the Vileplume in play and they bench something heavy and don't have any energy attached to it, and have an attack cost of 2 or more, this is great to bring up and stall. So I'll show you my tech a little further down for in combination with this. But even if you don't have the tech that I have in here, just being able to drag up your opponent and force them to manually retreat because they can't use a switch with Vileplume can always save you a turn and just give you a little more time to get ready. So I run 4 Lampent for that reason. And I only run 3 Chandelure. I had 4 Chandelure, but I dropped 1 for a Pont, I believe, just for a little more shuffle power, for a little more consistency. I do run Recovery in this deck. Some Chandelure decks don't. It's just the player that I am. I really like you never know what's going to happen, so I really like Recovery. And so that's why I feel pretty safe in just running 3 Chandelure. So obviously there's great things about this card. Curse Shadow, like I said before, lets you put 3 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. Eerie Glow, it's not that powerful of an attack because it's only doing 50, but this is the kicker. The defending Pokemon is now, burned and confused. So unless they retreat to another Pokemon, they may not even be able to touch you, because if they flip tails on the confusion, they do damage to themselves rather than the attack going through. And the great thing about burn is that if you're careful with your damage counters, you can actually get it, in several cases, down to where you can Eerie Glow, we'll put the damage on first, Eerie Glow, and they can knock themselves out on the burn flip. And if they do that, then they don't, if they're playing Rescue Energy or anything like that, Rescue Energy only goes into effect from effects of attacks rather than effects of statuses or damage counters. So they don't get to use that Rescue Energy. So it's a great way to knock your opponent out. So, like I said, I run 3 of them. Because it's so important to switch from Chandelure to Chandelure to be able to use the Curse Shadow ability multiple times, and because it has that nasty retreat cost of 2, I run a 2/2 line of Dodrio, which as long as it's on your bench, excuse me, your active Pokemon's retreat cost is 2... which says as long as it's on your bench, your active Pokemon's retreat cost is 2 less. So that means you can easily switch between Chandelure and Chandelure. The only bad thing is if they have a Pokemon like Bellsprout or a Lampent or anything like that to bring up your Dodrio, it doesn't affect the active, and if your Dodrio is your only Dodrio and it's pulling the active position, you do have to manually retreat it. So that's kind of a bad thing, and I find that often in the mirror matches, that's the first thing you target is bringing up the Dodrio, so that they have to burn the energy to manually retreat as you try and knock it out. So I try in the mirror match to have 2 Dodrio on the bench at a time, just in case they try and use that strategy. So here's the Great Vileplume. 3 Oddish, 1 Gloom, and if I can find room in the deck, I'd love to add a second Gloom, just because there were games that I lost. There was at least one specific game that I lost because this Gloom was prized. And actually, there were 2 games I lost because the Gloom was prized. And then just 2 Vileplume. So a couple of my techs, you can tech this out with a variety of different things. Blissey Prime is one card that you, if you have a lot of Chandelure in your area, you might see to heal all the damage off. I wasn't able to find room for it in here, but I do have Jirachi. Time Hollow de-evolves your Pokemon, so you're spreading damage with the Chandelure, and then just attaching a bunch of energy to Jirachi, and can Time Hollow for multiple knockouts, so great card. And this is a card that I hate it when I win this way, but a win's a win, and if I gotta use the monkey, I gotta use the monkey. So the strategy with the Aipom is to use your Lampent with Luring Light to bring up a Pokemon with a very heavy retreat cost of at least 2 or at least 2. Anything more than that is great. And a Pokemon that really can't attack. So this can be in Magna Eels, an empty Magnezone, empty Eel, empty Zekrom. Yeah, there's just all sorts of things with heavy retreat costs. Kyurems, just tons of stuff. Then on the next turn, as they attach, they're going to try to attach an energy to retreat or to attack. You bring up the monkey and you use tail code to move that energy to the bench. So basically, this is just a stall tactic. As long as they're attaching energy, you keep tail coding, and while you're tail coding, you set up the bench. It's basically, and it's a slow way to win, but it works. You wait until they can attach an energy, and you free retreat, bring up a Chandelure, start spreading damage on the bench around them, and then if they attach an energy, just retreat your Chandelure back and bring up the Aipom and force them out again. And the only downside is if they don't run any retreaters that have 2 or more, or if they have if they run double colorless energy, if they have something like Feraligatr where they can rain dance a bunch of energy on per turn, Electrode, to add multiple energy per turn, Shaman to move energy up. There's lots of ways around the monkey, but I found that the monkey is just a great tech because you never know when you. I've won several games because of the monkey. In fact, the game I lost yesterday was because my monkey was my last prize, and had it not been my last prize, I would have won. So just a little disappointing there, but gotta be one of my favorite techs. On to trainers, supporters, and stadiums. So this is what makes the deck really work. You can try running Chandelure without the Stadium Tropical Beach, but you're going to find that it's very difficult. Tropical Beach is a new stadium that you could only get by attending Worlds this past year. So they're pretty hard to come by. You pretty much have to get them off of eBay or be able to trade with someone that went to Worlds, or a lot of people just kind of borrow them around. Luckily for me, I'm a collector, so I have the regular Tropical Beach, the Staff Tropical Beach, and the Top 32 Tropical Beach. And 2 Tropical Beach typically works pretty well in Chandelure decks, but 3 is just more consistent. And if there was really something I had to take out, I'd probably take out the 3rd Tropical Beach, but right now, it's having 3 beach in the deck really increases the chance that you're going to be able to draw into one early game rather than having to waste half of a twin search for it later on. So, oh, and I forgot to even show what it does. So it says that during your turn, you can draw cards until you have 7 in your hand. If you do that, your turn ends. This works with Chandelure because you don't always have energy attached to Chandelure to be able to attack, but you're still putting damage on with the ability. So you can put up to 60 damage with, switching between 2 Chandelures, using 2 abilities, and then beach to bring your hand up to 7 to, set up another Chandelure, try and get energy to attach for the next turn. There's just all sorts of things. Having a large hand size is just very important in Vileplume decks because, you're not running a lot of trainers to get you out of interesting situations. So, but even though this is a trainer lock deck, without Spiritomb from the last format, you have to run trainers in order to get it going up fast. So the standard is pretty much 3 communication, 3 Vileplume. This is ideally to focus on getting that Vileplume up, and then you can always just toss these out later. because they're pretty much just dead cards in your hand after that. So, for Pokemon Collector, because that is most consistent, you definitely want to get your bench going as fast as possible. You want that double Oddish out there to get that Vileplume up as soon as they knock one out with the twins. Collector, just necessary. 3 Sage, and this is useful for several things. Sages early in the game can help you get that draw into the Candy Vileplume, communication, the combination you need to get the Vileplume out. In late game, Sage is great because it can get rid of, the extra stadiums and trainers that you have just cluttering up your deck. I run 3 Professor Oak's New Theory just for a little shuffle power. You never know when you may need a fresh hand. Powerhouse of the deck, 4 Twins. With Vileplume decks, unless you're running up against another Vileplume deck or an Electro deck, you are going to be behind on prizes. So Twins is essential for being able to get your deck going. If you're behind on prizes, that's fine. You can always catch back up, but not without something like Twins to really help you get it. Twins lets you search for any 2 cards in the deck that you want, leaving you a variety of, endless possibilities, but is definitely an essential in any trainer lot deck. I run 3 N, and N is perfect for the late game. Once they're down to 1 to 2 prizes, assuming they don't, have a Magnezone or something like that in play to help them draw back into a hand, you end them to get their hand size really dangerously low, and then you keep going. Because you can deal with a low hand size. You're still doing damage with the Chandelure's ability, just switching back and forth as long as you're set up. And if you have energy on, then that's even better. You can be doing, 110, not including burn and confuse flips. So that's definitely, that's worth it to have a low hand on your side. And if you don't have the energy to attack, you can always use Beach to get your hand back up. Whereas they can't use, if they use Beach, that automatically ends their turn. So it's pretty much a way of stalling them. And my last supporter, a single Flower Shop Lady. And this is not a requirement for this type of deck, but I am one that I really, really want recovery. I really want recovery just in almost everything that I play. So Flower Shop is a big one. Energy, because you can, you're spreading damage with just the ability, I don't really focus on having too much energy in the deck. I run 2 Rescue Energy just so I can reuse Chandelures, Oddishes, all sorts of things, and 6 Psychic Energy because Chandelure needs Psychic Energy to attack. Luckily, Luring Flame just needs a colorless, so I can always use the Rescue Energy for that, but Chandelure and Jirachi do need Psychic Energy. So that is my deck, and I realize I've already rambled on for almost 20 minutes just kind of going through the premise of the deck. But I know that while Chandelure is a top deck, a lot of people probably haven't seen it played because of the Tropical Beach. With the Tropical Beach being so difficult to get a hold of, and the big thing is that the Tropical Beach, you can't get them online. So while I had a lot of battle vids up of Magna Eel matches, I don't have Chandelure built on the site because it doesn't run very well without Beach. And unfortunately, they just haven't given us a way of getting Beach onto the site. So until they do, I pretty much just kind of play test with myself. And yeah. So hopefully in the future, I'll choose to run a deck that doesn't have a Beach in it, so I can play more online and have more battle vids to show. But if I do have something that I'm running that runs Beach, yeah, online options are not a choice. So, second place tournament report. Yeah, I'll try and go through it fairly fast since I'm already rambling on so much. But my first match was against a Zeal deck, and I pretty much just used the strategy I told you about with Lampent. I used Luring Light to bring up something with a heavy retreat, and then just A-palmed the energy away while I set up and spread damage. My second game was another Eel variant, Eel, Raichu, Zekrom maybe? Either Zekrom or Thundurus. May have been a Thundurus, but I remember the Raichu. I don't think I Luring Light lit his... Yeah, I didn't do that. But I remember winning. He made a big misplay near the end of the game where he attached to retreat and brought his Pokemon active before he Dynamotored, which put him behind a turn. He wouldn't have been able to get a knockout that turn, but yeah, that damage definitely hurt him. So would have been interesting to see how the game had played out had he not made that mistake. But yeah, he made it, and I ran with it. My third game was against another electric deck. It's a Zekrom Lantern Eel deck. And the bad thing about the Lantern Eel decks is that they run DCE. So I didn't get the Vileplume up until maybe turn 4 or turn 5, so that really hurt me. I tried the Lampent strategy to just stall while I tried to get set up, and he always had the DCE to retreat. I was able to take some prizes and kind of try and make it close, but he had it. But he's a really good player, so can't be upset at that. I also had a couple Lampents prized, which really slowed down the game as well on my side. But yeah, it was really, really well played game, and he was a player that went on to top 8. So my next game, my Gloom was prized, and I was just unable to hit that Candy Vileplume combination until very late in the game. And I believe he was playing 6 corners, so lots of basics, lots of heavy basics that I can't just spread damage and devolve. And yeah, getting up the Vileplume so late, I wasn't able to pull that out, and he slaughtered me. But he was another player that made top 8, so it's yeah, I can't get upset when I'm losing to players that are going on to do, go on to top cut. My 5th game was against a ZPST, I believe. Was it ZPST or another Zekrom Eel? I think it was ZPST. It was a guy that I played at a previous tournament where he was playing ZPST, so I'm having a hard time remembering if he was playing that or an Eel variant. But we both got pretty slow starts, but I got a little bit faster, and once I had the Vileplume set up, that just really, really killed his game, and I was able to win that one out. Yeah. And my 6th game, I was honestly really worried because I was going up against a really good friend of mine who was playing Tyranitar. And when I was actually being paired down, so I didn't think I was going to, even if I won, I was going to get into top cut. And so I was pretty bummed out by that. And then knowing I was going up against Tyranitar, and Tyranitar has a type advantage over Chandelure. I am double weak to dark Pokemon. Bad thing is I believe, did he use... to take the first knockout, he just used Megaton Tail to just knock me out in one shot, I think my lone Chandelure or something like that. And when you do that, you have to discard, I think, 3 or 4 cards from your own deck. He discarded 2 of his Pupitars. And I had the Vileplume in play, which meant he couldn't rare candy them to another Tyranitar. So he had the prize lead for a little while, because it took me quite a while to whittle away that Tyranitar Prime. But once I knocked out the Tyranitar, all I had were Pupitars on his bench. So, yeah, he pretty much said, good game. There wasn't anything he could do to get those Pupitars back. He couldn't evolve them. So I got really lucky. Standings are posted, and I am shocked to see that I squeezed in at 8th place in top 8. So it was really excited. Went on to play a guy that I had played in top 4 at the last tournament that I top cut at. So, and I knocked him out, so I was thinking, oh, well, that he's going to revenge on me. So he was playing Durant Cobalion, and first game I won, got the Vileplume up, I think brought it pretty close, but he does run Flower Shop, which instead of Super Rod to get hit, or just lots of revives, to get his Durants back in against a Trainer Lock deck, so that was an incredibly smart play. So I got the first game. He chose to go first in the second game, and he said he got the best start he's ever seen. Or was it just the best start of all day? I forget if he started off with 3 or 4 Durant in his opening hand. and he went, obviously chose to go first, and I just remembered he was devouring for 4 for a turn, after that first turn. He first devour, took out a Vileplume. Second devour, took out a Vileplume. I was able to flower shop in to get the Vileplumes back in. I got the Vileplumes in my hand and then realized he had devoured all my rare candy and my Gloom was prized. So I played it out, just trying to get as much as I could. But yeah, he definitely won that one. So we go on to the third one, and I honestly can't remember details. I just remember I got at the Vileplume fairly early. I chose to go first. I get set up, and I'm knocking him out. He brings up the flower shop, I believe, to get them back in play. And it came down to my last prize versus the last card in my deck. And yeah, basically I took my last prize when there was 1 card left. So 1 more turn, if I hadn't taken a prize that turn, I would have been done for. So an amazingly close game, but then I went on to top 4. What do I find in top 4? Chandelure mirror match against Pokegasm, actually. He is on YouTube, so definitely go check him out. And yeah, I had really no clue what to do with the mirror match. So he had an oddish start, so he just went ahead and set up a Vileplume just because he probably just had them in his hand. And I noticed that he didn't have a Dodrio ready on the bench yet, so I used Luring Light to bring up the Vileplume. And then I think I just started working on the bench, sniping trying to keep he couldn't get the Dodrio out to retreat it. And I don't remember if I A-palmed or anything like that, but I just remember that Vileplume being active because I was behind and having a really hard time setting up gave me the extra time I needed to get set up. So won the first game, go on to the second game, and he doesn't get a Vileplume up this time. He doesn't have an oddish start, so there's no reason why to even go for it. And I pretty much just target the Doduos. I figure if I can prevent him from free retreating, then he can only do 30 versus 60 on an ability. And that's assuming he's giving, and if he's got energy, he can still attack. But if he doesn't have energy, he's reduced to 30. So I just pretty much just attacked the Doduos. And even though he had, I think, at 1.3 Chandelure on the field, I was just able to whittle away at him and won the second game as well. So I go into top 2. Who do I face in top 2 but the same person that I lost to the last time I got second place? And he was playing, it was a variation of Cake with Electrode, Kyurem, there was a Cobalion, but he didn't have to use it. Yeah, honestly, I don't remember too much. It was just a slaughter. The first game, he turned to Electrodes, and he gets 4 energy off of the Electrode. Just swarms, and I die. So, second game, I think, well, maybe I have a shot to go first. Both of my Vileplumes are prized. And I really tried to make it last as long as I could just to make it seem like I was putting up a fight, but he slaughtered me again. So he's an amazing player. He's probably one of the best players I know, and every time I go up against him, our matches have always been pretty much one-sided. The few times I beat him, it was just amazing luck on my side and no luck on his. So it just seems to always be kind of one-sided when we play each other, but still an amazing player, and definitely not ashamed to lose to him. It was a great day, a long day, but an amazing day. And I was just really excited to top cut with a new deck. So I don't have any booster packs right now to show you guys because their shipment didn't come in. So what the tournament leader's gonna do, the PTO, is when he gets them in, he's just gonna ship them out. He got all of our addresses. So what was it last time? Like 12 or 16, 18, something like that pack. So it was a ton of Noble Victories packs. And since I pretty much have all the Noble Victory stuff that I'm going to need that I can think of, I think I'll probably just sell the packs. It will make for a fun booster opening, but as you can see from my background, I'll have plenty of boosters to open in the future. And Next Destinies is being released at the end of the month, so I'll have plenty of vids coming up for that. So there's certainly no reason to not sell the Noble Victories packs that I'll be getting in. So I'll show those as soon as I get them in, and I'll make a sale video with that. Other than that, though, I guess I'll just spend a minute to promote my new channel. I should have done that at the beginning of the video because I'm sure not many of you are left by the end. But new channel, The Cat's Meowth, if you're not already watching it on The Cat's Meowth. I will be uploading videos to both channels again. I stopped it for a while, and then I noticed when I stopped it, my subscriber count or my subscriber climb really just fell. You know, I would have an inbox full of new subscribers every day, and as soon as I stopped uploading to both channels and really promoting the new channel on the old channel, it kind of died off, and I just kind of get, you know, a few here and there. I noticed when I re-uploaded another video on the old channel and just promoted a bit more, it started skyrocketing again. So I think I'll do that for a little while more, and, you know, just kind of continue doing that until this channel, until The Cat's Meowth really takes off. For those of you that don't know, Computer 3 and CSU, it won't be going anywhere. I'm just going to keep it as a trade channel. So that's where my TCBMs, BCBMs, all that stuff, including trade binders, sale binders, stuff for trade and sale. That's where all of that stuff will be going. And The Cat's Meowth is going to be more of just other Pokemon related stuff. So I'll be showing, as you can see, my booster opening. When I finish my master set vid, that'll be going here. Tournament reports, deck reviews. I am doing really well on trying to catch up on my blog reviews. So if you want to check out thecatsmeowth.blogspot.com, I've got a bunch of deck reviews going up on there, and I've been doing probably around 10 a week. So really trying to catch up on all the ones in my inbox, and I apologize for everyone for having to wait so long. But you know what school does to you. You get behind. So I am catching back up now that I'm done. So just give me some time, guys, and yeah, if you haven't checked out The Cat's Meowth, definitely go check it out. I think it's going to be a great channel in the future. Just have to get the word out there a bit more. So thanks again for watching if you made it this far.